Welcome to WFPC Podcasting, your local source for the heart and history of Pike County, Indiana. And now, here's your host, Randy Harris.
Welcome to WFPC Podcasting. This is a weekly look at news, information, and the people in and around Pike County. If you've been around Petersburg very long, you probably know Alene Grubb. Many of you might know her from Somebody's Place, Petersburg Elementary, Petersburg First Christian Church, or just being around town. She is a ball of fire. She's 95 years old. She loves God, family, and her community. Alene, welcome.
Thank you.
So you grew up, let's go all the way back and just start at the beginning. You were born in Cincinnati.
At Good Samaritan Hospital.
1930.
30.
And mom and dad were doing what at that time?
Well, my mom was just a house mother and a housewife, and my dad worked at a foundry called the Steel Factory in Lockland, Ohio. I was born in Cincinnati, but we lived in a suburb, not, like 8-9 miles from downtown. But then eventually we moved down over the Rhine.
Down over the what?
Rhine, R-H-I-N-E, the Rhine River. And see, it's a German town, and it's a good town.
That's great. And that was 1930. The Depression was just hitting.
The crash had just come in 29.
Yeah. So what was it like growing up in Cincinnati? Dad had a job, so that's the big part. Growing up in Cincinnati during the Depression?
Well, I was not old enough really to realize what a depression was. And we started coming out of it about 37, 38, along in there. And that's really
when your memory
where I
kicks in.
really start to remember detailed things, yes.
And was Dad at the foundry during the 1930s?
Well, no, because for a while, Daddy went door to door. Of course, a lot of people lost their jobs. And Daddy went door to door with a little toolbox, and he'd change light bulbs, he'd fix anything that anyone had to be fixed, and help fix a flat tire or do a little household chore, anything to make a quarter, and mostly like a quarter and 50 cents was his pay. And that's what we lived on. And it got so we couldn't live on that because we had our own little rented house. And then we went to live with my grandmother in 1935.
And where was she?
And she was in Lockland. Now, we lived in Arlington, about 3 blocks away from Arlington. That's how close the suburbs were, or from Lockland. That's how close the suburbs were. And my grandmother and grandfather had a house. They had a son, and he was like 15, 16. He was their baby. And when we moved in with them, he gave us his room, and we lived with them until 1935, late in 35. I went to kindergarten in Lockland, Ohio.
And your maiden name was Campbell.
Right.
And your dad eventually got a job with Williamson, the company that made the big old furnaces.
Right. It was called Williamson Heater.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that is what eventually brought him to Petersburg.
Right.
And that was, what year, 1940?
Well, we moved to Petersburg on the 10th of July, 1944. We pulled in up here where Dorian David lives. Mm-hmm. And we had rented that house, and we had never seen it. And I wouldn't get out of the car. And I was holding the cat. We brought a cat and a dog with us. And Mom said, that cat has to get out. I opened the door and let him out. Well, we didn't see him for 3 or 4 days, but he came back. And Mom said, you got to get out of the car. I said, when I'm in front of 1910 Pleasant Street, Cincinnati, Ohio, I'll get out of the car because that's where I live. Now, I was 13, soon to turn 14. This was July, and I turned 14 in September. And finally, Mom came out, and we had never had a bathtub. We took a bath in a wash basin and dumped the water out. And Mom said, "You ought to see this pink bathtub in this house." I thought,
13-year-old girl.
Bathtub and pink? I had never had a bathtub, let alone a pink one. Well, finally, I got out and I went in the house. Well, she told me, she said, "If you come in the house, I'll let you be the first to take a bath in it." Well, that did it. I went in the house and here I am, a few years later.
That was a few years later. World War II was still going on.
Yes, until 1945.
Do you remember what you were doing when you heard the news that the war had broken out?
I'll never forget it. We had a grocery store in Cincinnati when we bought it when I was 9 and sold it when I was 11 in 1941, after the war started. Well, we had 2 rooms in back, and we ate back there. Mom cooked dinner for our family back there and everything, but we had a house 1 block through the alley to the next street, which was 1910 Pleasant Street, and our store was 1910 Race Street. And our store had Campbell's Delicatessen printed on the front of the window. We had an artist do it for us. And I learned to help in the store, and I had to turn all the cans straight, keep all the stuff. The new cans went in behind. And
face the shelf.
they taught me just how to work. And finally, just before we left there, I could take the butcher knife and slice bologna and stuff.
Those are great memories.
Well, and the funny part of it was our grocery store was in where a funeral home used to be years ago, of course, before we moved down in Cincinnati. And in the basement, there was all kinds of blankets and everything because the carriages were horse-drawn. And to this day, I have a belly band of bells that went around the horse's belly band. Now the leather is getting pretty
Brittle.
worn. And I still have that, though. And I had one of the blankets, but finally I threw it away. It got not good.
Mm-hmm. Those are great memories.
Oh, my goodness. The memories. I've had a great life, Randy.
Mm-hmm.
A beautiful life.
And so 1944, you come to Petersburg. You're right on Main Street. Not far from where you are now. And where, as you mentioned earlier, Dave and Dory Holmes live.
That's where we lived.
And across the street from your church. And I always called that area Mullen Hill.
Well, Mullen Hill was not on Main Street. It was the Walnut Street, Sycamore, Locust, and Maple up in that end of town. And it was a good place. Good people lived up there. Few not good ones, but most of them were good.
Good place to grow up.
Oh, yes.
And you were mentioning earlier, one of your neighbors was Mrs. Hodges.
Yes. They lived on the corner of Main and 14th, right across from our church. Mm-hmm. And then we lived 1 block off of Main on 14th and Walnut. There was an alley between us, and Mom and Mrs. Hodge became pretty good friends. And, of course, Margie and I were friends, and we'd walk to school together, and like I told you.
So Margie was about your age, a year older maybe?
Yes.
And when you'd play pitch with the Hodges boys when they were home visiting Mom?
We just played ball with him once. He was already wherever he was getting ready to get in I don't know when he went to be a ball player. I don't know what year.
Well, 1943 and then 46.
Okay, well,
and then 47, he was in the big leagues.
Okay, well, that would have been he would have very near been in the big leagues.
And that started in 1947. So that was, and you probably had the Harrises, Bill and Bob were probably right
we
in
lived
between
in their
you.
house. We had bought their house.
Okay.
They sold it and we bought it.
Okay.
Stiffy sold it, and you know who Stiffy is?
I do.
Okay, Stiffy sold it and we bought it.
So Stiffy was Bob and Bill's dad?
Yes.
And Lee was the brother?
Yes.
Okay.
And they ran the funeral home together.
I remember Bill used to tell me stories about.
Oh, I loved Bill. He was
living in that neighborhood.
Oh, yeah. He was really a nice boy. Well, just remember, we lived in the Harris's house.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's still there. And
No. Daddy died in 96, and Mom was already in the nursing home, and we sold the house.
No, I mean the house is still there.
Oh, yes. And it's in good shape. This young couple, I guess they bought it, I guess. But they covered it with yellow siding, and my mom would have loved that.
Great. And you're just a couple blocks down from that
3
today.
blocks down from that.
So walk us through. You go through high school. You're in a class with Marjorie, and
Just one class with her, and that was physics.
okay.
Because a class ahead of us and us, our class, was together in physics. I don't know why, unless not enough took the subject. I don't know.
What was Petersburg High School like in the 1940s?
I hated everybody in it, and every door and every desk. I hated it all. And I went to school, and I was kind of bashful to begin with. You won't believe that, Randy.
I cannot believe what you're telling me. You love everybody.
I do.
And I didn't think there was a bashful bone in your body.
There's not anymore. But I was kind of bashful, and I didn't want to go there. I was going to get to go to Withrow High School in Cincinnati. I had gone 8 years there. I went through the elementary school through 6th. Then I went to junior high at Rothenburg Junior High, and I get to go to Withrow this fall. I mean, I was going to be a freshman at Withrow, and they moved me down there.
And bam, it all changed. And at 13, 14, that's a hard time to change.
Oh, yes, it is. Believe me,
and
I lived through it.
All of a sudden, you're in Petersburg, Indiana.
Yeah.
And it wasn't what you wanted at that time.
But it didn't take me long to find friends.
This is a very accepting community.
It is.
And once you accept them, they accept you, don't
Yes.
they?
And I was perfectly happy. By October, of course, we started school in September, day after Labor Day, But by October, I knew so many kids, and I had friends. I was invited to a party, and I felt like, okay, thanks, Daddy, for moving us here.
And that personality started coming out. So high school probably had Mrs. Wyatt.
I had her in commerce, and I had Mr. Sanders.
Yes.
And I had Mrs. Buckley, Mrs.
Faye.
Sutton,
Yeah.
Faye. And then eventually she was my principal when I started at Petersburg Elementary. And I had Miss Wilson.
Doc Weathers, was he there?
Dr. Weathers. He came in my junior year, and he taught us history. And all the girls were in love with him. He was a soldier. He came back. He'd been a captain. And, oh, look at him. Oh, he was beautiful. Oh, my word. I loved the man, but not like that.
Yeah, he was great.
He was special, yeah.
Boy.
Oh, my Lance. Oh, my. I can see him doing that.
What a great fella, though.
Yes, he was.
So you got involved in Petersburg, and it became home. Then walk us through. You go through graduation. What happened then?
Well, as soon as I graduated, I had been working weekends at a little dime store. Mr. Laurie from Jasper came down here. He ran the Ben Franklin up there at Jasper. And he came here, and he built a little dime store. Now, the last I remember, it was a realty place down next to the jewelry store, and the beer joint was on the corner, and then the jewelry store, and then it. And the last time I remember, someone had a realtor.
Well, was Johnny Harrell in there for a while? Johnny Harrell's TV or radio shop? That's what I
He
always
might
thought.
have been Randy. I don't remember that.
These beams right behind you, those came out of that building.
Oh, my word.
Those were the floor joists.
Well, you love history, don't you? I do too.
So you're working at the dime store, then what happens?
Well, my mom wanted me to go to school and be a nurse, but we didn't have the money. We didn't know about grants. We didn't know anything.
And grants weren't as available in
no.
1947 or 48.
1948. No, they were not. And I really didn't want to go to school. I wanted to play. And I met my husband in the fall of 47, and I never saw him anymore for about 6 months. And then I met him again in 1948, and we started dating.
And he was a little older.
Oh, yeah.
He was a veteran.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, he never was in service.
Oh, okay.
He had asthma, and his breathing kept him out of the service. But, yeah, he was older than me. And first time I ever met him, he said, "I'm going to marry you." And I said, "No, you're not." I said, "I wouldn't have the silly name Grubb. Who ever heard of a last name Grubb?"
What was his first name? Gerald?
Gerald. Jerrell, like the last name Gerald.
Right. So when do you get married?
We got married in 1949 and moved to Evansville because he worked at Arkla, at Servell. It was
Right.
Servell then.
Right.
He worked at Servell, and we decided we would move to Evansville. It would save on gas and all kinds of stuff. And then we lived down there until, our Linda was born the next year in 50, and then we moved back to Petersburg in the fall of 50
Okay.
because I needed Mom.
Moms are pretty convenient.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
So you get back to Petersburg, and we had this discussion because to me, you're synonymous with the Christian church on Main Street.
Yes.
I just thought you'd always been there. You haven't always been there, have you? Tell us that story.
Well, I was not raised in church when I was young. Mom would give us a nickel, and we'd go to an evangelical church at the end of Race Street in Cincinnati. And if you ever go to Cincinnati and go to the end of Race Street from the river, you will see a T Street and an evangelical church and a great big brass polished hand on top pointing up to God. And Mom sent us there. That was about a half a block from our store and about 3/4 of a block from our house. And we went to Sunday school, but I did not know what was going on until I moved here.
And then when did that happen? When did Jesus enter the picture with you?
In 1951, I went to a revival at church with Mom down there because I had been going
down there in Evansville.
at the Christian church.
Oh,
no, here at the
okay.
Christian church. And I thought the preacher preached a sermon and it touched me. And I thought, I'm not doing these things. And I didn't want to be a bad person. All young girls want to be a lady then,
Right.
a lady.
Right.
And I've never been a lady. I've just been me.
You've just been Alene.
I've just been Alene, right. But anyway, it touched my heart. And I said, "Mom, I want to be baptized." She said, "Okay, go up when they sing this song." And I did. And then we didn't even have a baptistry, which we have now. And they took me to Washington that night and baptized me.
And you've been hooked ever since.
I've been hooked on Jesus ever since.
That's great. Tell us more. You've got Linda. Donna's coming along soon. When does she come along?
2 years and a month later. We tried to plan to have her the same time at 2 years, but we miscalculated, and she was born 2 years and a month and a half later. And then Jerry was born 6 more years after that.
Okay. And Petersburg turned out to be a pretty good home for you, Pike County.
Randy, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. Mm-hmm. No, I wouldn't.
and you've got your girls. You lost Jerry a couple years ago.
Yes, I did.
But you've got girls, and you've got your church, and you've got friends.
Yes, I have.
And this is your community. I was standing in front of church here a month ago. You just come wheeling right in there, and at 95, there's no stopping you. You're just always out moving, full of energy. What is your secret?
I always tell people when they say, why are you like this at 95? Don't sit down, because if you do, you're not going to get up. And I love people, Randy. I love people. I love to visit with people. I love to intermingle with them. I love to talk with them. I love my church family. The girls that, the doily that I sent Vanna.
Oh, show us that picture real quick.
I have crocheted one. All the girls at JC have one. The girls at the bank have one. The girls at the doctor's office have one. Some of them, not all the girls at the doctor's office. And everywhere I go, all my friends have a doily. I probably have made over 500 of them in the last 8 or 10 years. But I learned to crochet in 1941 when we visited friends down in Corbin, Kentucky.
So you made a doily and you sent it to a friend whom you watch on television every night?
Every night I watch her on television and see how...
She's turning those letters around.
Yes, she is. Miss Vanna White.
That's great. And you sent her a doily?
I crocheted a doily and I sent it to her. I picked out a blue and gray and a blue and ecru and white, and had some brown in it. And I sent it to her, and she sent me this. You want to hold it up?
Wow. That is phenomenal. There she is.
It
To
says,
Alene, love, Vanna White. That is really cool. Dylan, can you see that? That is great. So you get this in your mail, and there was something big sticking out.
See, when I got it, and I saw that
Wheel
of Fortune on there, that's when I screamed for Donna down at my birthday party. Because I thought, what's going on here? And then opened it, and there that was.
That is great. That's great. Once the kids start getting bigger, you went back to work.
Yes, in 1977, Faye Buckley told me.
I thought you had told me one time it was like 68. Am I wrong?
Oh, I meant 67. Not 67. Yes, 67. I'm sorry, Randy. In 67, I went over to school. Linda was a second grader that year. And no, she was grown up. I have to think about this, Randy.
I bet Jerry was probably second grade.
He probably was in school. Well, I went for something, and Faye Buckley said, why don't you come work for me? I said, what do you mean? And she said, I need a playground aide. I said, what would it entail? How long a day and everything? Because my husband didn't want me to work. And she said, if you will come and give us an hour or an hour and 15 minutes every day between 11:30 and 1, like right in that area, she said, we pay $1.15 an hour. I thought, wow, $1.15 an hour, and I hadn't made anything since I'd worked at the dime store before I got married. And I said, okay. I said, I'll do it. I thought, well, he'll be at work. He won't know if I'm working or not. Of course, the kids had to tell him, Mom's got a job. Well, then the next year, Mr. Swift came.
Carl Swift.
And when he came, he started a thing called the Teacher's Aid program. And he said, teacher's aides are people who assist a teacher and help with special kids that are having a little tough time, help tutor, bring them up to class par. And he said, would your playground aide be interested in something like that? She said, let's get her in here and talk to her. I said, yeah. And that's when I became an aide. And then now I got to think of my times here, in 69 or 70, I think 70, I became the librarian over there, because Patsy Creasy was the librarian, and she wanted to teach. She was a teacher. She wasn't a librarian, but she got a job as a librarian over there. And she said, they said, would you take the library? I said, yeah. I said, I don't know much about authors and things, but I said I would. Mr. Swift said, I'm going to send you to VU and send you into a teacher's aide program. So he got me in VU. Well, VU couldn't handle any more in that, so I went to Oakland City and took English, just regular English at Oakland City. Well, then I took some math classes and took different things, and if it wasn't for a biology class and a lab, I would have an associate degree in elementary education. Wow. But I didn't want that. Faye said, oh, please. She said, you got all the makings of a teacher. Everything you do, she said, and you love the kids. I said, Faye, I want all the kids. She said, what do you mean? I said, if I had the library, I would have all the kids, and I want all the kids. I said, I don't want a class. She said, are you kidding me? She said, you'd make such a good teacher. I said, well, thank you, but I don't want that. Well, then Mr. Swift came along and he said, you need to take library science. So I went to VU and took 2-3 classes of library science. And then with the help of Mrs. Creasy, who had a first grade or a kindergarten at the time, she was both, and I can't remember which then, but she helped me too. And I became librarian until 1993.
Wow.
And loved every kid. I've had doctors and lawyers and mayors.
And I think every kid loved you.
Well, I know they loved me because I loved them first. And I loved every child. And I always tried to help the underchild. I don't know how to say that, Randy.
Underprivileged.
The more underprivileged and unfortunate children. And the kids knew that I would make no difference in those who had the names in town than those who did not.
Right. You loved them all.
I loved every one of them. And I've had doctors and lawyers and teachers and minors and all kinds of kids on my porch. In fact, I had porch buds, that's what they called them, for about 10 years. And some of the kids that I had in school would come every morning, and I tutored them, I helped them. I helped them with the Bible Bowl down at the Free Methodist Church, those kids that went down there, and I did all kinds of things with them.
Thanks for watching WFPC Podcasting. Let's take a quick 60 seconds to hear from our episode sponsors.
WFPC welcomes a new sponsor, Hathaway Excavating and Rock Yard, located right here in Pike County on State Road 64, just west of the Arthur Junction, near the new Pike County EMS building. Besides excavating and dirt work, Hathaway Excavating adds a rock yard to their bundle of services, along with all kinds of dirt work, septic cleaning, septic installs, and always local friendly service. Hathaway Excavating and Rock Yard, 812-582-2646. Recently, the real estate market has been unpredictable, but at Harris Real Estate, we still have clients looking for homes and properties. Let us help you sell your home or property and or find your next one. We're local. We know the business. We know the community. Harris Real Estate has listed and sold hundreds of properties right here in Pike County. Harris Real Estate, 812-380-1065. And when you wash your vehicle on a regular basis, there are many advantages. You're easier to see, you preserve the life of your vehicle, you help maintain its value, protect its paint, prevent corrosion, and it just looks better. It only takes 6 quarters or your credit card to get it started. Stop by Petersburg Car Wash today, 401 South 9th Street, Petersburg. So you did this through the late 60s, through the 70s, through the 80s. June 2nd, 1990. It just misses your house, but that tornado hit the school.
I had $12,500 damage.
Wow.
My siding was just like this when the wind would blow in several places. There was a hole in my roof, and you know it happened on Saturday. Well, the next day, the adjuster came from my insurance, which was Metropolitan at the time. I had life and everything with them. And the adjuster came. He went up on the roof, and he said, your roof's perfectly okay. He said, we'll patch a couple of places on it. Well, it ruined my insulation up in my top part of my house because he did not see the hole or didn't tell me about it or something, and the rain came through. You know it rained then. And the rain came through and ruined my insulation. And I had $12,500 damage.
Were you home at the time?
No.
You were out running around.
Remember Mary Jane? Mm-hmm. Mary Jane Ingersoll, her house tore completely up, you know. And we had been out picking and fiddling was that day out at the park. Right. And we had been out there all day long, ate out there and everything. And we came home and, well, they were standing out back of the 4-H building and they were watching, they could see a tornado going over the river or something. And they said, it's going to hit Petersburg, or if it doesn't go around, it's going to hit Petersburg. Well, I told Janie, I said, get your lawn chair, we're going home. She said, now? She said, what if that comes and gets us? I said, get your lawn chair. We went home. I was back in my driveway, but we pulled in my driveway, got out of the car, ran in the house, and it hit. Within 5 minutes, it hit. And we went down the basement, and we were on styrofoam that I had used in my camper. I had bought a little camper, and we were on styrofoam over in the north side of the house is the way it came. And we were safe. But after it happened, and we could still hear noise, it hit my house, and I heard all this noise, and I thought, oh my gosh, what'll I find when I go upstairs? But anyway, we got up and went over and looked out towards the school, out the basement windows. And when we did, Janie said, what is that? I said, I don't know, Janie. We saw this huge movement outside, and it was like it was pulsating, and it was green. And what we found out later, it was leaves blowing and moving and everything. And that was the tornado itself, and then went across the street and ate the school up, you know. Mm-hmm. And then a few days later, Teresa Chastain and I were over there. She was one of the kindergarten teachers. Teresa and I were out front of the school, and we were looking at stuff and everything. And, of course, I had to go in the library the next day and everything. But we were looking at stuff, and this newsman came along, and he said, hi, ladies, and he had a camera. I said, I'm so sick of cameras. And we were. You know, Randy, everybody from Evansville and everywhere. And he said, I'm not going to take your picture. He said, I want to ask you one question, and I want you both to think about it before you answer me. And I said, what's the question? And he said, what if there's anything at all good that came out of the tornado, what would you say it was? I said, I don't have to think about that. I know. And he said, what? And I said, people who wouldn't give people the time of day on Friday, Saturday, they were there helping them. And Randy, you know as well as I do, and you were one of the big helpers.
Well, thank you.
You know as well as I do that the whole town we came together.
Came together.
Yes, we did.
Picked up the pieces together.
Yes, we did.
And we had a lot of neighbors coming in to help us as well.
Yes, we did. We had a lot of good neighbors.
But we didn't wait around for the government. We just did
We got busy, didn't we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that was quite a time.
Yeah.
I was in your neighborhood. I had been at the picking and fiddling contest. The three announcers, Rob Waddle, Jim Pell, and me, and somehow we switched schedules, and I came home right before it happened. And I didn't realize it was coming, but I had come home, and I think Rob, who is Carl Swift's son-in-law.
Yes.
And I think Rob replaced me, Rob or Jim, one of them. But what a night. You'll always remember that, won't you?
I'll never forget it, Randy. And Janie stayed a whole week with me, her and her little dog. And, oh my goodness, her house. If she'd have been home, she'd have been at that kitchen table. And the refrigerator fell over, and the stove got knocked over, and some beam or something fell from her ceiling and busted her kitchen, came down and chopped her kitchen table, and she'd have died had we not been out picking fiddling, and then her at my house when the tornado hit.
Well, and so many people were not at home that night.
No.
That was a blessing.
It was a Saturday night, and a lot of people were gone on Saturday night.
And we had softball games going on out of town, and picking and fiddling was going on.
Yeah.
Just a lot of people weren't home.
It's a wonder we didn't have people hurt out at picking and fiddling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, amazing. I think
we had 4 deaths, did we?
Total of 7.
7.
A couple of those came after the fact.
Yeah.
But yeah. I think 5 initially, I think. That's all memory, and I haven't looked at it for a while.
Yeah.
But there were like 113 trees that were pulled up out of that park.
Awful. It was awful.
They put you in temporary school housing. How did that work out? You were in trailers.
Well, I wasn't. I was in the old school building, the old gym that was left.
Right.
And you go in the door and you go up the steps, and then there was a balcony all along. Well, they framed some of that balcony in where the bleachers were and took the bleachers out, and we were all worn out, but we carried in cars, filled cars with my books, and I had to tell them what to put where, and still I had a lot to clean up and put the books where they belonged after we got them over there on those shelves.
So many of your books were salvaged.
No, all of them. It was dirty in there. But see, it was the all-purpose room, a room in a room is what it was, is why it was okay. And the tornado went down the hall where the 4th and 5th grade, music was, special ed was on the end, music was over here, and the whole hall was 3rd and 4th grade. It would have got every child. And see, that's where they would have got if school had been in, and they would get out there in the hall and put a book over their heads to practice, in case we ever had a disaster. But, oh my, God was with us, Randy.
Mm-hmm.
He sure was.
Yep. He was with us on a lot of things during that tornado.
Oh my, yes.
For as bad as the damage, I always use the number, 1/4 of the town was destroyed, and for that few of fatalities, that was phenomenal.
Yeah. Poor little Emmeline Hilgeman.
Mm-hmm.
My.
When you go back to school, you work about another 3 years.
Well, when we went back to school, we were over there, I think, 2 years, and we went back to school in the 92-93 year. And I pray every day, a dozen times a day. I talk to God all the time. And I told God that day, I said, Lord, or that time, I said, give me 1 year in the new school and I'll rack it up. Because I need it. Mom was in the nursing home and Daddy was still home. And I had to write his bills. And I didn't care. Honest, I didn't. I took care of him. And he lived, like you say, 2.5, 3 blocks away from me. And I was cleaning up his dishes, and he'd get every dish in the house dirty. And one day I was sitting up there, and Chris Stead across the street, Chris Hadlock, she brought him meals, and then he'd heat him up in the microwave. And he was sitting there eating his lunch one day, and he was crunching something. And I said, Daddy, what are you crunching? And he said, oh, a little bit of ice is still in my TV dinner. He said, I didn't get it all done in the microwave. I said, give me that. And he needed me. He needed me.
So you are, at that point, you're about 63?
I was 63.
And you retire?
I retired.
And you take care of Dad?
Yeah.
And you're with Mom when she needs you?
Yeah.
And then you go back on a new mission. What year did you go into somebody's place?
In 1999, in December 99, Elaine and I, my sister and I, were the first. Were there when they gave the second orders out. The first orders, we weren't there, but she had read in the Petersburg paper, please come down and give us an hour, donate an hour to us a week, however. Well, we went down and we checked on it. She said, let's go check on it. She said, give us something to do. And we went down, and you know the rest of the story with that.
Yeah, and wow, you were there all the time.
Yeah.
And it was, if somebody is not familiar, somebody's place helps those same kids that you were kind of drawn to at school to, if there is a need, you try to fill it. It was...
Randy, we had most of our people, a lot of our people, not most of them, were special ed. And I had worked with special ed a lot. Mm-hmm. And if they'd go on a field trip, when Faye was principal, she'd always let me go because I had played with them and worked with them, and I just loved them. They were special kids.
Right.
And when our people started coming down there, and a couple of these kids, when they first started coming in, I know you. You was our librarian.
Yeah.
Yes, I was. And they'd hug me and love me, and just...
And, gee, you did that. How long did you do that? 15 years?
I worked from 99 until 21, and the reason we quit in 21, the guys told us, the guys that carried the groceries out and brought our stock in from the warehouse and went and picked up our groceries at Evansville and Vincennes and Linville, those guys said, we had a 2-week quarantine at first. And they said, you girls go home and quarantine, and we will come down here and make sure that our people are fed for this 2 weeks. Then when it's over, you can come back. That was the end of it for me.
Right.
Because then when I went back, it wasn't the same. And they don't come in now. They used to come in, and they don't come in now. And I miss seeing that too.
But you stayed very, very active, busy in the community up into your 90s, and you're still active.
I love it, Randy. I love life. I love life, and like I told you a while ago, I love people.
Right.
I'm just a people person, and I ask God every morning in my prayer, please, Lord, give me somebody to talk to about Jesus today. And every time I pray for somebody's place, I pray, Lord, just please give us enough food to feed our people today.
And he always provides, doesn't he?
Every time. One time, we didn't have enough food when my sister was director down there. And we didn't have enough food, and I come in and I said, Elaine, we haven't got enough food to feed our people today. She said, get everybody in the office. We got in, we all held hands. 2 or 3 of us prayed around the circle. She said, go back to work. God will provide. About 11 o'clock that morning, the moose called, and she answered the phone, and she went like this to me, and I come over there, and we didn't have speakers to turn on,
Right.
and I was trying to listen on the phone, and the moose said, we've got several boxes of food down here we've collected. Could we deliver it Monday morning? We said, could we get those in a car? And she said, I think. And I said, okay, we'll be down and pick them up if you don't care. Oh, that'd save us the trip. That'd be fine for us. We went down, we fed our people that day.
Great.
And you think God hasn't had a hand on that place?
That's right.
He's had his hand on it ever since.
How are they doing now? Do you ever check in down there?
Fran is doing a bang-up job.
Great.
She is so good. She finds grants. It's all computerized now.
Fran
Lewis.
Wonderful.
And I couldn't do it,
She
Randy.
is a go-getter.
Oh, she is. And I couldn't do it because I'm not that good at computer. And she gets these grants. She does all this extra stuff to bring us in money, and she does the order. All the ordering is on computer now. See, it used to be we got 10 papers, and 9 and 10. Well, I would check off 2 cases of this, 4 cases of this, and so forth. And then we'd fax it to them. And then now she does it all on computer. I couldn't do it. And God sent her down there.
He takes care of us, doesn't he? So how you do a lot of crocheting. You're so active at church. You're active with your daughters. You're active with your friends. What else do you do? You watch Vanna White?
Every night.
What else? What else are you doing these days?
Well, I'm not crocheting so much.
Arthritis?
See that index finger? That's your main crocheting finger. You see how crooked they are?
Arthur's got a hold of them?
Arthur has been chewing on them, and it's harder and harder to crochet. I do a little, but not very much. I work a lot of crosswords. I can still hold a pen. I have a jigsaw puzzle. I went to the Dollar Tree here about 3 weeks ago. I bought me 8 boxes with puzzles in them, $3.50 and $5, most of them, 500 pieces and 350 pieces. I've got one on the table now. I just finished one. The one I have on the table now, my nephew bought me at the vineyard, and it's a lamb in some mud right in the main part of the picture. And then behind it, here comes Jesus running just as hard as he can run. And we're the lamb in that picture, not Jesus. We're the lamb that he's coming to rescue.
Perfect.
And it's tough. It's got a lot of, half of it's black pieces. And my eyes, I got macular. My eyes aren't as good as they used to be. But I can still do it.
You're still driving.
Still driving.
You don't have a Chihuahua these days, do you?
Oh, yeah. I have to have my boy.
Those Chihuahuas are fun, aren't they?
My goodness. He speaks English, too.
Good.
And he can tell time. And
Great. He knows what you're saying to him.
he sure does.
What else do you need to tell us today, Alene? It's always good when we bump into each other. It's always so good to see you, and always to get your inspiration and enthusiasm, and you're just happy to help people.
I love people, Randy.
What do you need to leave us with today?
What
do you need to leave us with today?
The fact that I love people. I'm afraid of this.
You're afraid of that microphone?
I'm afraid of that microphone.
Oh, you're doing great.
I'm afraid of that camera that I know is catching everything I do. But I just love people. I love my Lord. I know I owe my everything to him, every breath I take. And if it wasn't for him, I couldn't do anything, especially at 95 years old.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Randy.
Thanks for joining us for this program of WFPC Podcasting. The program is brought to you by Harris Real Estate, Hathaway Excavating and Rock Yard, and Petersburg Car Wash. Please like the podcast and share with your friends so more people can hear about WFPC Podcasting, which may be found wherever you find your podcasts, or just type it in your browser. New programs are released on Fridays as we explore the people, information, and news right here in Pike County. See you next week.
Thanks for watching WFPC Podcasting, your local source for the heart and history of Pike County, Indiana. From back roads to town centers, we bring you the voices, stories, and news that shape our community. Join us on this journey through the past, present, and future of Pike County, Indiana. Tune in next week for the next episode of WFPC Podcasting.